So let's move on to the next analysis, which is available expressions analysis, and let's talk about it uh, uh, briefly. So how do we define available expressions analysis? This is the reason why I have chosen this, is this offers a contrast to live variables analysis. So we say an expression, so this available expressions analysis is used for common subexpression elimination, the global common subexpression elimination. You know, the examples of 4 star I and 4 star J and 4 star N that we saw in our motivating example. For that, we perform available expressions analysis. Okay, so let's look at the definition. An expression E is available at a program point P if every path from program entry to P contains an evaluation of E which is not followed by a definition of any operand of E. Look at how this is different from live variables analysis. First of all, live variables analysis talked about paths from P to end. We are talking about paths from start to P here. Okay, here the effect is discovered, the effect of the computations that appear before P is considered, whereas in live variables analysis, the effect of the computations that occur after the live variable analysis, that is being considered. Okay, so that's the first difference. The second difference is that we are talking about every path. We are saying that this certain property must hold along every path. The third difference is it's about expressions, whereas live variables analysis was about variables. The fourth difference is that we are talking about occurrence of E which is not followed by a definition of any operand of E. In case of live variables analysis, we said use of V which is not preceded by a definition. Here, it should not be followed by a definition. So this is an example of what is called a forward data flow analysis. The previous analysis was an example of what is called the backward data flow analysis. Okay, so here once again we require that every path must contain an occurrence of expression A star B, which must not be followed by a definition of A or B. So clearly this example satisfies the condition. So A star B is available at P. What do you think of this second case? Is A star B available at P? Someone quickly, can someone tell me quickly?
No, since it is like one of the paths is followed by the definition of A.
Right. So in this case, it is not available. What about this third case?
It also doesn't it's not available since the second part does not have the evaluation.
Yes. So this is how it's different from live variables analysis. In live variables analysis, an empty path didn't matter. In this case, it does matter because we're talking about every path. So here also A star B is not available. So how do we capture this? This seems to contain things that are very different, properties that are very different from what we talked about in live variables analysis. It turns out that we can define it in a similar manner. Once again, we define gen and kill. So a set gen contains expressions such that they are evaluated in basic block N, and this evaluation is not followed by a definition of any operand of E. In live variables analysis, we talked about being preceded. And kill is E, all those expressions whose operands are defined within the basic block. And we get the same similar set of equations. They're not same, but they're similar. Once again, we define in and out. So how do we define in? Now, we say that at the start, the set of available expressions is what is given by the boundary information. At some other node n, the set of available expressions is now an intersection of available expressions at the exit of the predecessor nodes. So two differences. A, we now perform intersection. B, we now look at the predecessors for computing n. In live variables analysis, we used union and we talked about successors, and we use the information from successors to compute the out variable. Here we are computing in variable from predecessors instead of successors, and the out of the predecessors, and we are taking an intersection. But you see the form still remains same. And now we compute out of n as the expressions whose availability is generated within the basic block, and we remove those expressions from the entry of the block whose availability is killed by this particular basic block. Alternatively, we can also write it as out of n is fn of in n, where fn is called a flow function, which takes some argument x and adds gen and removes kill from x and takes a union of the result with gen. In and out are sets of expressions. Bi is empty set for expressions involving a local variable. Okay. So we can use it for performing common sub-expression elimination before. If an expression is available at the entry of a block n, which is expression is contained within the data flow variable in n, and a computation of the expression exists in n, such that it is not preceded by a definition of any of its operands within n, then the expression is redundant. Let's look at this example. So here we have B star C. B star C is upwards exposed. Okay, so B star C is not preceded by a definition of B or C. And therefore, if we get expression B star C as available, we will be able to eliminate its effect. We will be able to eliminate this as common sub-expression. However, observe that B star C is not available. B star C is not downwards exposed because B star C is followed by C star, by an assignment to C. Okay. So this is an example of an expression that is upwards exposed. This is an example of an expression that is downwards exposed. And this is an example of an expression that is neither downwards exposed nor upwards exposed, because this expression is preceded by an assignment of an operand and is followed by an assignment of the operand. So therefore, this expression is something that can never be, the green expression can never be eliminated by a common sub-expression elimination, and rightly so. Okay. However, nor can it eliminate some other occurrence of expression A star C below. However, if we have A star B below, this expression can be used to eliminate the occurrence of that A star B. Similarly, this B star C can be used to eliminate this B star C can be eliminated by some other occurrence of B star C. This is a bit involved. Before I go further, I would like to take questions on this. Let's just make sure that it's very clear to you what is being eliminated and by which expression. Is it clear? Any questions about this? Okay. So there are two possibilities that all of you have understood this very clearly and therefore you don't have any questions. Or the other possibility is all of you are utterly confused, so confused that you don't even know what question to ask. But let me proceed with the assumption that if you knew a question to ask, you will ask that question. Okay, so let us proceed. So let us look at a tutorial example for available expressions analysis. Here, for a change, we represent sets using bit vectors. Okay, so here, let's say first bit represent A star B, second bit represent B star C, third bit represents C star D, and fourth bit represent D star E. So we have this set E1, E2 represented by 1, 1, 0, 0. E3 is represented by 0, 0. Empty set is all zeros. E1, E3 is represented by 1, 0, 1, 0. And E2, E3 is represented by 1, 1, 0. E3, E4 is represented by 0, 0, 1, 1. These are efficient operations, and therefore the analysis can be performed efficiently for the entire set at the same time. So we're talking about gen and kill. So here we have the simple program. In basic block 1, the availability of A star B is being generated. In basic block 2, the availability of B star C, C star D is being generated, which is E3. In basic block 3, we have an assignment to C, and therefore it will kill E2, which contains C, and it will kill the availability of E3, which contains C star D, which contains a variable C. So therefore, basic block 3 kills E2 and E3. Basic block 4 contains an assignment to D. D is a part of E3, and D is an operand of E4 as well. So basic block 4 contains E3, kills the availability of E3 and E4. Basic block 5 generates the availability of E1 and E4 and does not kill availability of any expression. Basic block 6 contains the availability of E4, and it does not kill the availability of any expression. Okay, so this is the gen and kill set. These are the gen and kill sets for available expressions analysis. Any questions about these gen and kill sets before I proceed further? Are these clear, reasonably clear? Okay, so there are no questions, so let us proceed. Now, what do we look for in this example? Observe that we have this A star B being computed here, and A star B is computed here, but neither this path nor this path contains an assignment to A or B. In fact, there is no assignment to A or B anywhere in the program. And therefore, this is an example of a global common subexpression. This fits the definition that A star B is an expression E such that every path from start to this program point contains an occurrence of A star B, which is not followed by a definition of any of its operands. So therefore, this is an example of a common subexpression elimination. This is an example. This is an expression that we should be able to optimize away. What would you say about D star E? Would anyone like to say anything about D star E? Is that also an instance of a common subexpression? Yes, anyone? No one wants to guess anything? Someone please say something. This teaching is very boring. Online teaching is very boring.
So D is being assigned.
Yes, D is being assigned here, but is this D star E available? Can it be eliminated is the question. So remember, we did not say the path should not contain an assignment to any operands. We said the path should not contain an assignment to any operand after the last computation of D star E. Right? So this is the last computation of D star E. Now consider any path from here to here. Again, D is being defined, so we can go back along this loop, but D star E is once again recomputed. So remember what we had seen in case of the motivating example. We talk about the last occurrence of D star E here and the first occurrence of D star E here. So between these, D is not being defined. So this is also an example of expression which is common and therefore can be eliminated. Let us see how do we get it. So here our initial value is a universal set, is the universal set because we are doing intersection here instead of a union. So our boundary information is empty set, all zeros, initialization is all ones, and now we compute starting from this. Now in a forward traversal we compute the data flow values. How do we compute the data flow values? So we compute, note that here 1 is the result here because this is computed here. So therefore 110 in of this is 110. To this 110 we add this C star D. So we get 1110 here. So we get 1110 at the in of this, we get 1110 at the in of this. However, C kills, here we have 0, 1, 1, 0 that is being killed. So therefore these two middle ones will become 0. So at the R 1, 0, 0, which means that A star B is available up to this point. Here we have A star B and third and fourth are being killed. So A star B and B star C are available at this program point. Their intersection 100 and 110 gives us 100, which says that only A star B is available. B star C is not available here. That is because we have an assignment to C here. So intersection gives us that answer. Now we have A star B available here. D star E is being computed. So we have 1001 here, and we have 1001 here, and we have 1001 here. Now we can perform the analysis once again, and we observe that there is a bit of change because now this value was 110. It was the effect of 1100 and initial value was 111, but this has become 1001. So the intersection of 1001 and 1100 will give us 100. It means that although B star C is available on this path, along this path B star C is not available, and therefore the second bit has become 0. See how nicely these equations capture the effect of paths without us talking about it intuitively. So now we say that this expression, this is 100. So to that we add C star D. So we get this at the entry and we get 100, no change here. Here we get 100, something has changed. 100 here, 1001 here, 1001 here, 1001 here, and this is our final result. Okay, there is no further change. Observe that A star B is computed here. It is upwards exposed within the block. It is not preceded by a definition of A or B within the block, and A star B is available. So this is an example of common sub-expression elimination. Similarly, D star E is upwards exposed, D star E is computed, and therefore it is an example of common sub-expression elimination. So this is how we perform common sub-expression elimination. Any questions about what we have done? I mean, it might look like I'm just doing a bit of hand waving, or it might look like magic, but really there is no magic. Any questions?
So, just clarification. So, like initially we start with all expression as available, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because if we say all expressions are not available, if we make 0, 0 here, then we will never get anything available here. So which means that if we say all 0, 0 here, we will end up saying that A star B is not available. So A star B will not be available here, which is wrong. Which is wrong as in it's a harmless error. It is an error. It will be an error, but it will be harmless error because you would not be able to eliminate A star B, right? But precision requires us to compute the largest set of available expressions. For live variables analysis, we computed the smallest set of live variables, right? So therefore, we start with all ones or the universal set. Any other question? Yeah. Any other question? Okay, so let us proceed. There are certain tutorial problems. I'm going to leave it for you to do. Their solutions are here. I hope you will be able to do them. If not, please feel free to ask. Let me move on to certain interesting observations. So we talked about soundness and precision of live variables analysis. In a similar manner, we have to talk about soundness and precision of available expressions analysis. Okay, so let us consider common subexpression elimination based on availability information. Again, we create similar examples. So here we have B star C as available. B star C as available. So B star C is available, but we do a spurious inclusion of a non-available expression. We mark A star B also as available. Okay. What could happen because of this? Because of this, an occurrence of A star B may be eliminated, which is wrong. Actually, I should not be showing T here because this T is for B star C. But A star B may be eliminated, which is wrong. This is an example of an error which is a harmful error. So spurious inclusion of a non-available expression is harmful. Recall that spurious inclusion of a live variable was harmless. Here, spurious exclusion of an available expression. Let's look at this. So A star B is available here, but we ended up excluding it. We made an error and we said A star B is not available. Okay. In which case, what we are essentially saying is that we have no expression which is available, and therefore we will not be able to eliminate this expression. So this A star B may not be eliminated, which is a harmless error. The solution is sound but may be imprecise. Okay. So then we can generalize from this observation. Given two sets A2 and A1 representing availability information, if A2 represents sound information, then using A1 in place of A2 is sound. Okay. If A1 represents sound information, then using A2 in place of A1 may not be sound. So a smaller set is okay, a larger set may not be okay. Okay. So a larger set than the largest set of available expressions is not okay. So we say the largest set of available expressions is most precise. Since availability sets shrink, the confluence is intersection, we choose the universal set as the initial conservative value. Boundary information has nothing to do with the initial value. Boundary information is a semantic information, and because these are local expressions involving local variables, we continue to mark it as empty set. Okay, so this is about soundness. And oh, I'm sorry, this is a, oh sorry, no, this was available expressions analysis. Okay, next slide is about live variables analysis. We had something similar, but it was a dual of this. In case of liveness analysis, spurious inclusion is harmless. In case of available expression, spurious inclusion is harmful. In case of available expression, spurious exclusion is harmless. In case of live variables analysis, spurious exclusion is harmless. So how do we generalize it? I mean, they seem to be opposite things, but turns out that there is a very nice pattern here. Okay, so we can compare soundness and precision of available expressions analysis and live variables analysis. So soundness requires avoiding harmful errors. Precision requires minimizing harmless errors. So feature is harmful error. In case of available expressions analysis, erroneous inclusion is harmful. In case of live variables analysis, erroneous exclusion is harmful. A harmless error is in case of available expressions analysis, erroneous exclusion is harmless, and erroneous inclusion is harmless in case of live variables analysis. The most precise solution is the largest set satisfying the criteria of availability. Here, the smallest set satisfying the criteria of liveness. The initialization is universal set, and here the initialization is empty set. The confluence or the meet operation or the way we combine the information is intersection in case of available expressions analysis, and union in case of live variables analysis. So you can see that they are actually duals of each other. They might seem to be doing something very different from each other, but they are really duals of each other. And therefore, we can imagine that there is a general theory such that these instances become its special cases. And there indeed is a general theory of data flow analysis, which unfortunately we will not be able to cover. When I teach my PG course on program analysis, I take at least 4 weeks to teach it, so 3 hours is out of question. It's the largest module in my course, but there's a very interesting theory that explains it. So the whole point is, although basing the criteria of harmless and harmful errors on the choice of application seems a bit ad hoc. So we said, available expressions analysis, spurious exclusion is harmless because we are doing common sub-expression elimination. And then we said, in live variables analysis, spurious exclusion is harmful because we are doing dead code elimination. So here, although we are basing it on an application, there is a more general and more fundamental reason for it. There's a more formal basis that coincides with this choice. And what is that formal basis? So as a general rule, including spurious runtime behaviors corresponds to harmless errors, whereas missing genuine runtime behaviors corresponds to harmful errors. So there are two things: A, spurious runtime behaviors and genuine runtime behaviors. And the second is inclusion and exclusion. So if we include spurious runtime behavior, that's okay, that's harmless. However, if there's a genuine behavior which we miss, then that is harmful. Okay, and this might look like a lot of hand waving, a lot of English, and a lot of loaded words, but there is a very nice mathematical theory. All this can be formalized mathematically. This intuition has a very sound mathematical basis. but unfortunately it is beyond the scope of this tutorial. I can tell you in a nutshell, what we do there is the following. We create a concrete world, we create a domain, concrete domain, we create an abstract domain, then define an abstraction function which takes a set of concrete values and gives us the corresponding abstract value. We create a concretization function which takes an abstract value and gives us the corresponding set of concrete values, and then we do some nice mathematics. We set up something called Galois connection, which essentially gives us soundness guarantees and tells us something about precision. So it's all a game of abstraction and concretization functions with a well-defined mathematics, which unfortunately is beyond the scope of this tutorial. You will have to take my word for it. Alternatively, my slides are there. My videos are also there on the YouTube. Maybe I will request Ramakrishna. I'll pass on the link to Ramakrishna, and
Yes, sir.
if you are very keen on this theory, you can see my lectures on YouTube and you can understand it, and feel free to ask me any questions about it. They're very nice things which unfortunately we cannot cover now. So now let's just look at this duality more clearly. Let's try to understand what is the intuition and how we can, perhaps what is the basis of making it representing it mathematically. So we want to look at conservative approximation of uncertain information for soundness. For soundness, we said we would like to conservatively approximate the uncertain information. So if there is something that we don't know, we can make some conservative assumption. So let's talk about live variables analysis. Okay, and this is a static property at a program point n, and there are two possibilities. For a given variable, a variable is live or it is not live. Okay, whereas the dynamic behavior at a program point is yes along all paths, no along all paths, or yes along some paths and no along other paths. This is possible. Okay, so how do we map this yes and no? Yes seems to be definite, no seems to be definite, but actually there is an uncertainty here because we are doing flow sensitive analysis. We are combining the information. Similarly, for available expressions analysis, we have a static property at program point n, which is again yes or no. We have a bit vector analysis. We are representing information using bit, a single bit. Either it's 1 or 0. It's either no or yes. Whereas because we are combining the information along all paths, we have these three properties. So how do we represent these three properties? In particular, how do we model this uncertainty that arises because of merging of information? Yes along some and no along some other. How do we model it in these two? And that's the interesting thing. So it turns out that for live variables analysis, spurious exclusion gives us conservative value. Okay, we say we include yes along some path, along all paths, and yes along some live if it is live along some path. So therefore we give the answer yes for both yes as well as yes or no. Right? So live variables analysis, yes, includes both these possibilities. And when we mark a variable to be non-live, we want it to be definite. We want it to be definitely not live along any path. Say no along all paths or no along every path. Maybe I should use the word every path here. So this is the conservative information in case of live variables analysis, and this is the definite information. So this is how uncertain information has been modeled. Uncertain information has been conservatively approximated as yes in variables analysis. In case of available expressions analysis, exactly the opposite happens. In case of available expressions analysis, it's a property of every path, and therefore we will say yes only when it is yes along every path. If it is no along some path, even though it may be yes along some path, we will still say no. So we are marking it as conservative. So meaning uncertainty with no, making it conservative and marking it no in available expressions analysis. This is what brings us to the inexactness of static analysis. We say yes along some path, no along some, and yet we are calling it no. So this is not the exact behavior. This is a conservative behavior. But it is exact for this, right? So in some cases, so for live variables analysis, we are conservative here and we are definite here. Because we are definite here, as soon as we know that the expression, the variable is not live, we can do the optimization. We do the optimization using the definite information. Similarly, we do common subexpression elimination using the definite information. The conservative information leads to harmless error. Optimization is always done using definite information, and therefore our optimizations are all sound, and although we are making conservative approximation, our results are not going to go wrong. So this is how we model uncertain information as conservative information depending upon the particular problem. Remember when we talked about this yes no combining, here we didn't say our application is dead code elimination. We simply went by the formal definition which said that we're saying it's a sum path property. Here also we went by formal definition where we said it's an every path property. We did not say we will do available expressions analysis. So this brings us back to this observation that was made here, that there is a more formal basis that coincides with this choice of the criteria of harmless and harmful error on the basis of an application. Okay, so I guess that's the maximum thing that I wanted to cover. Yeah, we are now ready to conclude. So what are the observations? Some other observation that we did not make for live variables analysis. Data flow equations do not require a particular order of computation. We can solve them in any order. One order may be efficient, the other order may be inefficient, but the eventual result is going to be the same. So data flow equation importantly make a distinction between specification and implementation. Data flow equations define what needs to be computed and not how it is to be computed. This is a declarative specification of what we need to compute. Implementation is through an algorithm. So we have used round robin analysis. We've used round robin analysis iteratively performing, but there can be some other algorithm as well. And this is very nice. Once we have separated the algorithm from the specification, the declarative specification, the mathematics of what we wish to compute, the mathematical description of what we wish to compute, now we can use any algorithm and make it as efficient as possible. So this brings me back to a question raised by Aditya, who said that this might seem to take a lot of time and the relative gains are very small, but it's up to us to design efficient algorithms. This tutorial its focus is not on designing efficient algorithms, but that's an important part of research of my group. Many of my PhD students have worked on achieving efficiency of these algorithms. Because algorithms and specification definitions are separated, we can very well do it. Initialization governs the quality of the solution found. Only precision is affected, soundness is guaranteed. Initialization, if you choose wrong initialization, you can at best create harmless errors. They are not going to be harmful errors. And this initialization is associated only with the internal nodes, not the boundary node, not the start or the end. BI depends on the semantics of the calling context and may cause unsoundness. So initialization may cause imprecision, whereas BI may cause unsoundness as well. And this associated with boundary node specified by the data flow equations does not vary with the method or the order of traversal. So now we have a very nice separation between procedural algorithms and mathematical specifications.